is a walkthrough day for the team, and they'll continue to monitor the progress of Will Levis to see if he can play on Sunday.
His reps should uptick. We're trying to get him back rolling, and hopeful that that's sooner than later here. And he'll probably take a little bit more to keep sharp. I think Mason still needs to be ready to play, and he'll still take some reps. But I'd like to increase Will's workload this week, certainly.
Titans made no moves as the NFL trade deadline passed Tuesday afternoon. Reportedly, though, they will bring in a veteran safety in Mike Edwards. According to Jeremy Fowler, the 28-year-old two-time Super Bowl champ was released by the Bills on Tuesday. College football playoff rankings came out for the first time Tuesday night. Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, and Texas make up the top 5. Tennessee ranked number 7, one spot behind Penn State and one spot ahead of undefeated Indiana. Tonight, the Nashville Predators are on the road at the Washington Capitals. 6 p.m. is the puck drop. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Happy Wednesday, Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store, 615-737-1045. We'll be joined by Jordan Dajani to go around the NFL at 2:20 p.m. of CBS Sports, of course. You can talk to us on the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And, of course, we got some college football to talk about today as the most important vote of the Tuesday night, obviously, was the College Football Committee choosing the order of the first bracket that will be totally different by the time the final bracket is around. Just to go through, number 12 is Boise State, who will battle number 6 of Ohio State. Number 5, Ohio State. Indiana versus Tennessee, a 9 versus 8 matchup. The 11 seed Alabama versus Texas, number 6. Notre Dame versus Penn State, that's a 10-7 matchup. And then, of course, Oregon, Georgia, Miami, BYU, in that order is 1 through 4, and get the bye week. And so we were talking with Joseph yesterday, producer Joseph, and we wondered if they were going to go ahead and put the Power 5, leaders in the 1, 2, 3, 4 spot, and they certainly did by putting BYU 4th. But very interesting college football top 25 prediction right here.
Yeah. One thing I was interested in, the BYU, I don't know if that's a big question or not. The schedule looks, solid. But then it made me look at other people's schedule, and I go, Texas. Who did they beat on their schedule that's tough? Who did they beat? I don't know. I mean, so what I was getting at is if they had a different logo on their helmet, like Boise State, they would be ranked like 20. See,
if they were Boise, if they were Boise State and in a different conference,
right? And in a different conference, absolutely, you're right. So I'm just, how much does history of a university play a part in this playoff system that they're setting up with this 12-team playoff? Because you could probably say some about everybody's schedule, but those are just kind of stood out just randomly. I wasn't looking for it. It was just like, well, dang, because I didn't know. I knew Boise has that running back, and I knew they were good. I watched them one night, for a quarter, and I didn't know they would be part of this playoff ranking here in the first week. But it's hard to say they don't deserve it. So they showed well when they played in a loss. I forgot who they played. It was a ranked team, and they showed well, and I think they gave them a lot of credit for that. That's probably the only thing. Some other people, other teams, universities may have some gripes here or there, but ultimately, it looks like, SEC and the Big Ten for sure are probably going to have 3 teams. Now, whether if you get the 4th team in or not, and that's where I'm concerned with your team, Bama, as well as Tennessee, if they have another snafu, where will they end up? Or if they win and then they lose in the SEC championship or whatever it may be, you still at some point, have to sit there and go, does a 3-loss team, whatever team that is from the SEC or Big Ten, really get over, another maybe at-large type team in the 12-team playoff? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'll say this. Let's first start with the Texas thing. Texas obviously has Michigan. They have a win over Michigan that was ranked 10th at the time that they did the.
Where are they ranked now?
Right. So that's you're going to be able to say that about a lot of these.
Yeah.
Oklahoma was ranked 18th when they beat them. Where are they at now? Now Georgia is their only loss, and they lost to them 30-15. And then you have a 3-point win over Vanderbilt that was 25th at the time. Obviously, a little where they at now. And that's the kind of tricky thing that you play.
What was the team Boise State played that they lost, but it was the toughest team I think they played?
I'll have to look that up.
I'll look it up.
So that's the thing about the whole Texas situation right now is that they, going in, we thought they had one of the easier schedules of any SEC team, and now they have one of the easier schedules with the loss coming against the toughest opponent in Georgia. And then they'll have Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then in the season at Texas A&M. And Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky currently not ranked. Texas A&M is ranked 15th. That's at Texas A&M. So that will be their second toughest game is going to be Texas A&M, who is ranked 15th now. But we don't really know what Texas A&M really is. We know they're a above average SEC team. But we don't know what they'll be by the time that rolls around. This is kind of to me, a very Florida State-esque, 2023 Florida State-esque schedule, where it's like, they got the wins, but are they really that good? Now, the difference being is that their quarterback is healthy, and then their backup quarterback is really good. That wasn't the case at Florida State last year. I am very unimpressed with Texas so far. A lot more. I thought they were going to be winning these. I thought they would win the Georgia game bigger. Yeah, they blew out Oklahoma, but Oklahoma just wasn't going to be that impressive with their offensive line. And playing Vanderbilt that close. I mean, listen, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Tennessee has a good chance to lose to Vanderbilt. It's not a give-me win by any means. But when you're a Texas team with that kind of talent, you should have gone and whipped that butt, and they didn't.
Yeah, especially with you say firepower, man, explosive players. I say, oh man, none of these guys that to receive they didn't even start last year. So I'm like, man. They had some NFL already. You could see it. They say they have 2 NFL tackles, too, by the way. Hint, Titans, Texas.
Well, one of them is going to be a guard. Maybe both of them are going to be a guard. Okay. So stay away from the Texas offensive tackles currently.
Why they have a history of being not so good?
Their size.
What is their size?
One of them is 6'4" and short wingspan. I believe that's Kelvin Banks, but that's the rumors already among NFL scouting circles that there's a lot of tackles that are going to be guards, and the Texas guys are among that group.
Are they? Oh, man. First question I'm going to ask the tackle. Did you play high school basketball?
There you go.
Look at me. I'm like, well, if he didn't play high school basketball, he can't play.
So Boise State's only loss was at the time against number 7 Oregon, who is now number 1, and they lost that 37-34.
See, that's why I say that's what I think the committee is giving them like, hey, man, Oregon by far is the best team. I don't know. They beat Ohio State. I thought Ohio State was going on a nice little run. If they had a little more time, they might have had a shot of winning that in Oregon. But, yeah, I think that is carrying a lot of weight with Boise State.
And they'll currently play the rest of the way Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, Oregon State, none of which are currently ranked.
Right.
So if they sweep and sweep impressively, because most of these wins are pretty impressive, high scoring wins, they should be able to make it. And that's a team that you may not want to be playing, especially because of how they played against Oregon. So, that's a team that, for whatever reason, if Boise State faced Alabama, it's mathematic. I don't think it's possible, but let's say they did in the first round. As an Alabama fan, I'd be a little afraid to play Boise State.
Oh, what really?
Because and listen, college football, I guess, is a little bit different because usually these teams are the teams that get blown out in the playoffs. You play Oregon that tight, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying they would blow out Alabama. Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's a team that I'm kind of because you don't really know what they are.
Yeah, especially with all the other opponents. Then you go, but dang, they they were right there with Oregon.
And even Ashton Jeanty's like worst day is like the best day for most college running backs. So there is no stopping that running back right now. Getting to University of Tennessee, obviously they're currently matched up against Indiana. They're ranked. Tennessee's ranked 8th, and they have a loss. And then Indiana is undefeated and ranked at 9. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. I thought maybe those could have been flipped. No real big reason to get upset for either fan base, really, because it's a long ways to go. But it is interesting that how the committee viewed Tennessee versus Indiana in their wins and losses in the record.
Well, how did they view them? I mean, just they were. I felt like
obviously they view Tennessee's resumes better,
right? Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I would just on who has IU really beaten? I didn't look at their schedule, but I think they beat only one good team. I can't remember, but I would say Tennessee is the better team right now. And then Tennessee's record versus Big Ten teams, in playoff or bowl games has been really good. I know IU's having a remarkable season this year, and I haven't watched but maybe a quarter of them actually play. So I don't know actually how good they are, but they are definitely going on a historic run for Indiana, being from Indiana myself, run here. And they've had some elite players along the way. But, man, just to have this kind of success, I think means that the head coach is really good. He's won everywhere he's gone to, and to do it this fast there at Indiana, and they, naturally you can do it a lot easier now with the transfer portal. So yeah, wow, it's just crazy even to say Indiana because people aren't used to seeing in football them up there this high and didn't expect it even coming into the season. So I don't, man. Maybe it is a little surprising they're up that high, but they still have a couple tests here at the end. We'll see if they'll still be there.
We'll talk more about Indiana, Tennessee, and the rest of the college football playoff picture. We'll also talk about James Pearce and Nico in the season that they're hitting their stride at the right time, both those players. We'll talk about that in the next segment. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Of course, you can chat us up on the F&M Bank chat over on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine, we've been talking about the college football playoffs, and I think where you kind of want to be if you're Tennessee is probably the 5th seed, right? I mean, eventually with the 5th seed, you're going to you got the home field advantage, obviously, in the first round. I mean, you want to be like, you want the bye week, but realistically, you're probably looking at trying to get up to the 5th seed, get that lowest number seed, so get the 12th seed at home in Knoxville. That seems to be the prime spot for any of these teams, but specifically, I think Tennessee fans, that's the spot they should be rooting for.
I would say it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Well, the reason why I say that, and I definitely agree with your premise, as a fan looking on the outside, you want to put yourself in the best position. But what you really want to happen for the Vols is that they get on a run and get really hot, and I'm talking about their offense, and going into the playoffs. And then they don't matter who they play. Hopefully, it's always going to be at home. But naturally, that won't be the case because it does matter. And that's what I want to see. I think the consistency of their defense has showed up every game. I think Nico's getting really close. He has some drops in this game. And I would say his performance would look better as far as his numbers. And so if they can continue this momentum, I think they'll be ready to take on anyone from home or away. But naturally, home is always going to be better and a lot more comfortable. Sleep in your own bed and then have a shot at having your fan base just go crazy, which is one of the loudest fan base, at least according to everyone who's part of that voting. So I just think it's more about that than actually anything else outside of that. And that's kind of more coach speak, because you want to put this in the brains of these young men to go before them, and that, hey, man, right now the way we playing, we'll beat anybody, anywhere. So that's kind of the mindset of the athlete and probably some of the coaches who are coaching some of these teams that are really good. And UT is just waiting to turn that corner and then do it consistently game in and game out. And that's what you want this offense to do eventually. And so hopefully we'll see that this next game and then a couple games and then boom. Then all of a sudden we'll see Nico has turned the corner visually instead of like, oh, well, he did hit some guys and they dropped it, or, oh, they were open and he overthrew, So then we see that. So that's the kind of mindset. I get it, though. You want to have every advantage you think you can. So if that's being the 5th seed or the 12th seed or whatever it may be, I'm all for it. But you got to say, hey, man, we Tennessee. We take all comers. We're all good teams here. So we're going to show you what we are all about. So that's the mindset you want, at least of the players. I get it, though. You want to play at home. The fans want them at home.
Strategically.
Yeah. If you're not going to be the number one seed and get a bye, okay, well, what are we talking about here? You going to at least get one home game?
Yeah, so looking at, you got Mississippi State, Georgia, UTEP, Vanderbilt. This seems like a really good time to get Mississippi State for Tennessee. To build on what Nico showed against Kentucky, because like you said, he did have a few drops. He threw for 292 yards. He had a 73.7 completion percentage. He had a couple big-time throws. 0 interceptions, a touchdown.
Would you say that was his best game?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's his best game. And then now you build on top of that. Much like how we talked about the Tennessee Titans week to week, that's what you want to do. So you've seen him start building momentum. And from here, you're going up against Mississippi State. There should be more momentum carrying on. If you have a dip, that's when then you have to go backwards to get that momentum back. And that's not what you want to see, because that's what's kind of happened to Jalen Milroe in some cases. And if you want to be one of the better teams in the college football playoffs, if you want to be able to beat Georgia, you have to build on the momentum. You have to be riding high going into Georgia. If you're playing a team like Mississippi State and you're playing them close, because to be honest, that Kentucky game was still too close. You only won by 10, 28
We got to
18.
remember, how many field goals did the kicker miss?
Yeah.
Two or three.
That too. And then the missed touchdowns.
Right.
We got to clean all that up. Not just Nico, but you got to clean all that up. So what I'm saying, as a team, you want to go in there and blow out Mississippi State and carry that momentum going into Georgia, where you have to go into Georgia to beat Georgia. And then you got your other big test after Georgia is going into Vanderbilt, at Vanderbilt, to beat them. And that's where those are two big games that are going to decide your college football playoff hopes. Obviously, if you lose to Mississippi State or you lose to UTEP, you're not getting in. But it really comes down to Georgia and Vanderbilt, because we expect University of Tennessee to beat Mississippi State and UTEP. We expect that Nico will look good in those games. He's just got to deliver at this point.
So do we expect him to be Vanderbilt this year?
I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm ready. We're a couple weeks away.
You're right.
That's a little too early, but I would say that Vanderbilt's going to provide a bigger test than what everybody thought they were at the beginning of the year. And I think that's been the case for every SEC team they faced.
Yeah, which is fair. No doubt about it. I was actually stunned at Ball State. I hung with them, who this is not a potent, at least defensively. They may have started to figure some things out. But that they were hanging with them like that, I was stunned. So that shows you even, good teams can have sleep at the wheel a little bit when they're playing a lesser opponent. And then Vanderbilt should maybe ever think like that just because of their history. So even as well as they're playing, they can still, succumb to some mistakes and not focus. So that game against Tennessee will not be that way. Of course, in-state rivalry, it'll be huge. It'll be the biggest thing going, and rest assured I'm going to be there. Yeah, I got to see that one live. I don't go to too many live games, but I'm going to go see that one there, man. I got to see. Because, it is good. Man, the Vanderbilt fans deservedly so, man. They are pumping their chest right now. They are so excited. And it's kind of, they're giddy because this is their first time, where they feel like they, appreciate their team and they can talk good about them. And hey, man, more power to you guys.
Hey, they deserve it because the team has played
well and
very
consistent.
well and consistent.
And from at least as the season's gone along. Don't forget now they did lose to Georgia State in the beginning when they were trying to see who they were and what their identity was, and then Diego had to tell them what it was.
Yep.
And we don't play that, so so man, he's been a game changer, and that just shows you. Depending on position, what an elite player, a guy who's confident in his ability, and in the right system and one that he knows, he can change the whole program.
Yep.
I mean, that I've never seen anything like that. Not in a long time.
And it meshes well. That also speaks to the head coach, right? Like Diego Pavia really meshes well with what Clark Lee wants to be as well. Mm-hmm. And that mentality, when you have a quarterback and a head coach on the same page, it can really do wonders for you. I mean, look at it extends from college football all across these programs to the NFL. Yeah. It is that head coach quarterback relationship is so important. Mm-hmm. I want to switch gears, though, talk about the defense, because much like Jeffrey Simmons, we've been probably a little bit more critical of James Pearce because we expected a little bit more if you're going to have all this stuff.
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Right off the bat. And some of that is involved in playing time. We've talked about, whether he should or shouldn't be playing already. Now he's getting in the rotation. He's affecting games, and you're starting to see him, much like Nico, start to ramp up at the right time.
Yeah, it seems as that way. Especially these critical plays, big moments that they need. So that's what really kind of stands out to me. But I don't know if he's getting more reps. I just think he's making the most out of the reps now. Like it took him a minute to get.
Well, I was just talking about we've had conversations about not doing enough with the reps they had, and why is he not getting reps at the beginning of the year? So
yeah, it's really weird. And to be honest, I felt like I may get the name wrong. 19 West, I think is his name. What is it? 19 for UT. I think he's a better all-around player, and that sounds crazy. Now, is he the freak of nature Pearce? No, but that guy brings it every play, and every time he's out there, I think they rotate a little bit. Man, he looks. Man, I like his all-around game. I like how he plays. What's his name? Do you look him up?
No, I was trying to pull up James Pearce's stats. It kept going out on me on PFF.
So maybe that pushed him. I don't know what slowed him down. Some people said behind the scenes that he was a little nicked up. And, then other people were saying, oh, he's getting double teamed. He's getting chop block. Hey, I'm not real big. If you've been listening to me for a long time, those are called in sports excuses. I'm never going to he was getting double teamed. You think Aaron Donald wasn't getting double teamed? Come on, man. When you're elite and you're that dude, you are him, that never leaves you and you always have it. Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll make something. You're going to impact the game some way. And now he has shown that at least 2 or 3 games here in a row where he's made impactful game-changing
It started
plays.
In the month of October, and he's carried it over.
What happened?
Yeah, I don't either, but they desperately needed it. So far, he's at 7 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. But on top of that, he has 2 quarterback hits and 29 quarterback hurries. And, of course, the forced fumbles that he's got. Yep. He's really started to turn it on. Starting with the Oklahoma games, 7 pressures. Florida, just 1 pressure. He only played 14 snaps in Florida. But he did have the big forced fumble, so that's important. Then against Alabama, 10 pressures. Against Kentucky, 5 pressures. So, he's doing it against the SEC opponents. He's got another SEC opponent in Mississippi State, Georgia, and Vanderbilt left on the schedule. So we'll continue to see do I see top 10 pick James Pearce? No.
Hold on.
Do I see first round James Pearce? Yes. And that's where I've kind of been
saying it the whole time.
Yeah.
I'd say top 15.
And initially, we're talking about a guy that was projected by some, even our friend Justin Mello, as the first edge guy off the board. Maybe even the number 1 overall pick, number 2 overall pick. But a lot of people had him projected top 5. Can he do enough wreckage, including the college football playoffs, to maybe get back up into the top 10, top 5 range? Sure. that is still on the table. But right now, you're looking at Abdul Carter, and you're thinking, well, that is clearly the number one edge guy in this draft class right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was talking about Joshua Joseph. Yeah, that's who I was talking about, 19. I'm trying to look up his stats where he's at right now. Went to North Cobb. SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week, Oklahoma week. So he's having a pretty solid season of what I've seen. Just as equal, maybe not as impactful, but on the consistency basis from day one till now, he's been much more consistent. Maybe, naturally, Pearce has had some humongous plays here the last couple of weeks. So, yeah. Do we have Joseph's stats?
No.
Yeah. But everybody's together. His attention is Pearce. But, I like Joseph as well.
Yeah, I kind of look at this whole thing as like you're peaking at the right time, right? Because the college football playoffs is now going to be more about momentum than ever before with a 12-team playoff, race here, Blaine. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be looking at it, the team with the most momentum and the players that are supposed to be your big-time players. I mean, Dylan Sampson has been a guy that has been doing something all year long. So we know that you can rely on him.
No.
What?
Wait. Did he get benched in the game because he fumbled?
I didn't.
Yes, he did.
Did he get benched because he fumbled? I mean, I wouldn't have benched him over one fumble, but if that's what happened, that's what happened.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
Right, Sammy?
Yeah, he got taken out for a couple plays after that.
But he got put back in, right?
Yeah, he came back in after.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal, though. Yeah, we've seen Ramondre Stevenson get benched. Ball security is job security.
Right. Who did you say?
Ramondre Stevenson.
Exactly. His name in Sampson. Right. See, there's different rules for elite players. You don't use the same line for a good player, an elite player, an average player, and not so good. Sorry. It tells me a little bit about your style of coaching. So now
what does that tell you?
Here's what it told me. We punish you when you make an error. And by the way, I don't think he's fumbled very much this season. So to me, he should have got a little bit of a pass when you're the star player like that and you haven't shown a lot of fumbles this season. So I'm not real big on you make a mistake, I yank you. See what it just told you? So let's say I say the wrong things on air. Well, I'm going to take you off air and then I'm going to put you back on.
We'll have to do it.
I don't like that in athletics. That's not a big one. I've used this before.
Yeah.
You make a mistake. You want to show, you trusted him to be out there. He's one of the leading rushers. And that's a lot of people are saying that he got benched. They said it during the game. The announcers. So. No.
Oh.
No, he didn't bench himself.
Because someone's in the chat. I'm asking Sammy because someone's in the chat saying that he hurt his hand. So I didn't even. It was to me just Deshaun. I didn't listen to the game, so I watched the game and I was doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So I just see Deshaun Bishop go in. I don't think anything of it.
No, they do rotation, but he was.
So I wasn't really. I haven't been in the know on this. You sprung something up on me. I have no clue about.
Right.
So
watch this. Does a coach bench himself when he makes a bad call?
No.
Right.
But that's like does a owner fire himself?
Well, what I'm getting at is you need to live by the same rules that you're pertaining to and especially with your star players. Like, I'm sorry. So when Nico throws the interception, you going to take him out? Nope. No, he didn't. So that's what I said, Dan. So to me, it was unjustified. You want to show that reinforcement that, hey, you're my guy, regardless. He hadn't had any fumbling issues, so... No, I didn't agree with that. Now, that's not how it's supposed to operate. The people who think when you make a mistake that you're supposed to yank a player out, that's nonsense. That's BS. That's old school, my era. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, now if you fumble twice, now we got to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Which he fumbled in back-to-back games, which it seems that's why Heupel yanked him for the rest of the first half until that final drive.
So he's had two fumbles that they lost in this period of time.
Yeah, the last two games.
Yeah.
Which are looks to be the only other person that's fumbled on the team has been Nico. So, I mean, so is it is benching the right word? Is it more of a timeout situation because he went back in? Like,
No, I don't like the psychology of
Yeah.
it all. What I want to do is put him
well, I
back
know you don't
there
like the
out there.
psychology,
No,
but
no,
like what I'm asking is there a difference between
Oh.
the benching and a timeout? Like, it seems like more that's like getting your corner kind of situation. Cool down, calm down, we'll put you back in. I mean, again, we'd have to hear it from Josh Heupel's words of what actually went down. But I'm just asking from a curiosity standpoint.
Well, I don't know anything about that premise, a timeout as an athlete. That doesn't resonate with me. I've never heard that. But what I will say is what you want to do with the athlete, especially your star player outside of the quarterback, is you want to get him back out there as fast as possible. So it's eliminated. You moving forward. And now it's, forgotten. People are going to make mistakes. If you think that you're going to play this game and your players aren't going to make mistakes. So guess what? Also, the people who are sitting on the sideline, that's what the message was. You make a mistake, even if you're a star player, I'm going to pull you out. Well, you didn't do that against the quarterback. You didn't do that with your receivers, drop the ball. You didn't do that when the defensive back linebacker missed a tackle. See, so to me, that you don't do that. Not to your star players. No, you just can't.
There you go. You heard it straight from Blaine Bishop. Josh Heupel's an idiot. I'm just kidding. That's not what
I didn't say that.
I know.
I just disagree with some of his premises. Just like they won't rotate receivers. Like that makes no sense to me. You're also developing these guys too at the same time. You can spot play them. Are you kidding me? You got 4 guys out there. Three guys on a regular?
Well, we'll talk more a little bit about, the momentum aspect of what Tennessee has. We're also going to talk about the Tennessee Titans and the trade deadline, lack of moves. They also made a move. They made a few moves. We're still waiting on the official word on a move that was rumored where they get a new safety. They moved some players to IR and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into all the trade deadline stuff for the Tennessee Titans coming up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Blaine and Zach, cover 2 here with you on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, of course, the F&M Bank chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine, the trade deadline is come and gone. Important to note, this is important to note for everybody. This comes from Phil Yates. With the trade deadline behind us, all players that are released are now subject to waivers. So even your veterans that have accrued 4 or more seasons, everybody goes on waivers. So the top of the waiver wire priorities filled with a cluster of teams, including your Tennessee Titans at 2-7 or 2-6. So it's going to get, so basically the draft order from here on in is your waiver wire priority. So they're 9th in the waiver wire priority. So anybody that is cut from a team is placed on waivers. So that's just important to note. But the trade deadline is come and gone. We saw that Jonathan Mingo weirdly went for a 4th.
No, we haven't seen Rand Cook. We have not seen him talk to the media.
So, okay, just so you know, you're using Rand cooking in the wrong context.
I know. Yeah, I'm letting you know that he is not cooking right now.
He is a quiet chef. That's what he is right now. But no, he has not. He did not take a chance to talk to the media today. He, so far as we know, has not been put on the agenda for any media discussion. We'll see how that holds up. But I think that we both expect no one's going to be talking. Very interesting choice after he literally says, by the way, this is what drives me nuts. And I love Rand Carthon, and I think that he is doing a very good job. And I think a lot of people are mad that Vrabel is gone and that John Robinson is gone. He's a target. Mm-hmm. And it's an unjust target. But if you're going to say that, hey, I learned from my mistakes after we traded Kevin Byard. If I'm going to learn from my mistakes and talk to the media more and be more available, that Q&A does not count. This is the time to do that. So you got to be able to do it. And, listen, he's not very good at press conferences. That is maybe part of the issue, is that he's not very good at press conferences, but that seems to be someone's job needs to be to get him ready for press conferences, because that's part of the job. Is to be able to handle some tough questions. Now, to be fair, I don't know of any of the general managers that have done all the trades that we saw yesterday, besides Jerry Jones, maybe, because he just talks to anybody, talk to the media. So it is a very uncommon thing that we are requesting. Yeah. But again, this media market, this team, and its current state of the franchise, the rebuilding, the losing, all this stuff.
They never said it.
They never said it, but let's call it what it is, even though they never said it. Needs to be thoroughly. I think the fans and the media deserve a time to have questions answered because of how this current state of the. If they were winning, nobody would be talking about this. Absolutely. But you're losing, and you're losing after telling everybody you're going to be competitive, after telling everybody you're going to be available. You got to get out there. You got to get out and take a press conference, I think. Does that have to be every offseason or every in-season or every few weeks? No. Because like John Robinson probably gave too much access to the media or talked too much and was made available compared to other GMs. But in this current state of the franchise, got to get out there and start you talking.
Yeah, I said that's what I would expect and not immediately. But if I knew he wasn't going to speak, I would have been expecting him to say something after those trades that he did, D-Hop leading the way of that one. So I think this day and age is a little bit different now. Yeah. There's more trades than usually in the past years of the NFL. So I feel like he should, say, hey, this is where we're going. We're redirecting or we're pivoting or something to that effect in his own words. That the season's not going as planned, and then I want to hear somebody, give somebody somewhat of a slap on a hiney here. And when I say that, I mean in their words, like, hey, we are not getting it done, and if we can't get it with the players that are here, then we're going to get new players. That needs to be said. There needs to be a line drawn that this is unacceptable and needs to be said by Rand, head coach Callahan. Somebody needs to get up there and say something like that. I'm sorry. This is unacceptable. They have to play better.
Cole Anderson did. Nobody liked it. The way like that he said it last week.
And then Rand needs to address where are we going from here. Well, we hope we can get our quarterback addressed. Hopefully when Will Levis gets back, and we'll see where we go from there. But at this point in time, with the record we're at, we are rebuilding. Don't run from the word.
Don't run from it.
Run to it.
And don't try to hide it by using reset.
Yeah,
just say what. And here's my thing, too, is
nonsense.
like, in the overall scheme of things, pressers do not dictate success.
No,
your ability to handle a presser, your ability to say something in a presser correctly does not mean anything to the success of what you can and cannot be. And because I remember in my feistier days as the Football and Other F Words Twitter account.
The feistier days?
When Mike Vrabel got hired and everybody was pee-peeing and poo-pooing in their Cheerios because he was mean to the media and he gave short, terse answers and everything. And I was like, look, it don't matter if he gives you short, terse answers as long as he goes out there and wins, right? That's what matters. That dictates. Like, I remember the first Mike Vrabel year that everybody in media did not like Mike Vrabel because he was mean to them and he wasn't Mike Mularkey. And listen, Rand Carthon is not as polished as John Robinson as far as his press conferences. He's not as buttoned up. Brian Callahan is giving you everything you've hoped from an NFL coach in this market, giving you everything you want to hear, and it's still not leading to directly to win. So the press conference means nothing, but there is I think a need in this current fan base and this current media market to be able to hear from Rand Carthon to figure out what the plan is. Listen, Nick Suss says the frustration that he exhibited to me in the Q&A's part of this does not come across in the written word. And so we need to see that. Like we do need to see that frustratedness from Rand Carthon because that makes you relatable and that also lets you know you care, right? Yeah. Talking about the Brian Callahan, and I know a lot of people didn't like that he cried. At least they let you know he cared.
Yeah,
Mike Vrabel, when he was pissed off, at least you knew that he cared. Yeah. He cared. And right now, it's really hard to you kind of know that he cares, but we got to see that frustratedness. Like, that's okay to let your frustratedness show in front of the media. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to berate them or anything.
That you're frustrated.
Controlled frustratedness.
Yeah. Well, you want to be frustrated about what your team is, and you're a part of that and putting it together. So, obviously, there's some frustration there, and players not performing at their level, and then some players injured, not injured. So you got to look at all of the whole
and the players.
Picture.
They know that they're not performing to their own level, right? Like, everybody is frustrated. So that's just kind of where I'm at. And you can be a good coach and be, mean, and you can be a good coach and be nice. There is no exact personality that leads to success in the NFL. It's about what your football knowledge. Your football acumen, that's what it's about. Your leadership skills, that's what it's about, not necessarily your leadership style. So that's just a little bit of a, it's not really where I was going to take this segment, but there's a little bit of venting I had to get to. We'll slap some more heinies when we come back. We'll talk about Will Levis, what Bill Callahan had to say, or Brian Callahan had to say about Will Levis, and inserting him back into the lineup and what that means for the offense. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, Tennessee, the holidays are almost here, and Cool Ray's here to make sure your home is ready for all the festivities. So check out the winter water heater sale, either for $500 tankless or $200 tanked plus a yearly free membership. And free water quality testing is always available. And you can also try a 2-for-1 with $49 tune-up and a furnace safety inspection. And Cool Ray is also offering 5 years, 0% interest and no money down on any new HVAC system. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's anywhere. So this holiday season, Cool Ray is introducing the Ultimate Power Upgrade bundle where you can transform your home with new outlets and switches just in time for the holiday gatherings. So try $500 off your panel upgrades or meter service, or maybe even $1,500 off whole home generators. So we're your partner in comfort, no matter the season. So let Cool Ray take care of your home so you can enjoy the holiday festivities. So Cool Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and lights bright. So visit Cool Ray. Yes, that's coolray.com.
Hey, it's Blaine Bishop here for 1045 The Zone. The dual power of radio and digital on 1045 has always delivered results for the local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early with this special savings and incentive. So reach out today to our local representatives, or you can just go to 1045thezone.com/epic.
Hey, Brent Doherty with 3HL 1045 The Zone. This is year 25 for me in radio. I believe in radio, and I believe in our crew. There's no question about it. We have a fun job. We tell jokes on the radio. We watch a lot of sports. We come in here and talk with listeners and get on the couch sometimes where people need to vent. We're all of those things. You know what else we are? Our job is to help you grow your business, and that's what we are here to do in 2025. Make sure you advertise with 1045 The Zone. It's 1045thezone.com/epic. I'll be glad to help you out. Any of our crew members on 1045 The Zone will be able to help you out, and we'll do it in a big way. Let's go.
Hey, guys.
Cover 2, Hour 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Stores. 615-737-1045. If you want to talk Tennessee Titans, if you want to talk about Will Levis, if you want to talk about Tennessee Volunteers. Coming up next, we'll have Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. We'll go around the NFL with him to kind of cover the aftermath of some firings, the aftermath of the trade deadline, and what's next for the NFL. But, Blaine, I want to shift gears to Will Levis. Brian Callahan sounded confident since Monday's presser that, we're very hopeful, is what I said. And there was a lot of energy behind the word hopeful.
It was.
Today, not as confident, but maybe that's just because they haven't seen him yet.
Bro.
They didn't practice on Monday and Tuesday, so maybe today, maybe he'll be more confident later. Maybe we'll get more from Nick Holtz on Thursday. We'll see. Time out.
I got time out.
Yeah.
When you're injured, you don't have to come in on Monday or Tuesday? I'm just going back by
they're not throwing and stuff, and that's what they want to see. They want to see him throw. I mean, they didn't.
What you're talking about in a practice form.
Yeah.
But he had to come in for rehab.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean.
And I would assume that throwing is a part of rehab.
Oh, well, that's a good point, I guess.
Just saying,
I mean, I don't know.
I didn't think about it until you said.
Yeah, there you go. We were talking about it earlier.
Injured, I had to, even when they came Monday, Tuesday, I had to go in at 10 o'clock.
So maybe they got a little bit of information there. So he talked about Mason Rudolph preparing. But what I kind of want to talk about, that's really good insight, by the way. What I really want to talk about is that, inserting him back into the lineup, what to expect, how does the offense work with him? And because we have talked about, and you brought up a good point, a level of rust is going to naturally be there. I mean, and obviously you trust in your throwing arm, trust in what you're seeing, and all this stuff has already been an issue for him, but now it's going to be it's going to take a little bit to have that full trust back up to an appropriate level. But I thought it was interesting was Brian Callahan's comments today when PK asked him, when you insert him back in the lineup, do you expect a little bit of regression?
Right.
Or what do you expect from the offense? He wasn't necessarily just talking about Will Levis, but what do you expect from the offense? Because Mason Rudolph has done such a good job these last few weeks. Here's Brian Callahan's answer to that question.
A lot of the things that we're doing and how we're doing them, we don't have a lot of things that are necessarily new. So these are things that are, the best way to say this, they're things that the rest of the offense has really improved upon schematically. Just the timing of the passing game, the route running, where guys are supposed to be in the run game, how we formation, how we manage it. All of those things are really, our offense has played better because all of that's gotten better as well. And so the hope and is that Will steps into an improved unit in general from when he was last in the lineup. And I think that's going to go a long way. And then Will's got to do his part. If he steps in and he's got to be able to complete the ball and do a nice job of manage it and protect it. And those things will help us. But I think that to me, what's more part of that equation is the improvement we made sort of everywhere else in the scope of the offense. That hopefully he steps into a unit that's a little bit better oiled and executing at a higher level than it was before.
So I interpret that as, hey, everything around Will Levis right now is better. The route running's better, the timing's better, the offensive line is better. People around Will Levis are performing better. So Will Levis is stepping back into a better situation than what he had last time we saw Will Levis. Now, Will Levis obviously still has to do his thing, still has to, not lose a beat and improve upon the stuff that he had issues with before. So what was your take when you hear that from Brian Callahan? I mean, it sounds to me not a lot of responsibility or pressure being put on Will Levis to perform because everything else is around him. Am I interpreting that incorrectly?
I would say you're in the ballpark. I was a little confused. They asked about Will Levis. PK did. Great question. And then he referenced everybody around him.
Yeah.
So in my mind, he didn't answer the question. He talked about everybody around him. Yeah, everybody else is around him. But did he regress or did he stay the same or did he get better while he's injured? You take your guess, coach. I would say that either you stayed the same or you're going to be rusty that first 2 or 3 drives. And those first 2 or 3 drives, if you rusty, can actually, your team, cost you a game. So how much do you want to risk that? It's not because, like, if he was a proven player and he was a proven quarterback, and he went out there and was rusty, everybody like, well, that's okay. He was just rusty, right? Well, not a guy who was being evaluated to see if he can be the guy. So I just that was another protective mechanism there. I think I'd be having conversations when you're healthy. We need to get you back up to speed. That's what I would be saying. Not that everybody around him is better. So that was saying that you were at another level and they weren't. So I disagree with the premise that he's going to come back and be the same. That's his assumption.
Yeah.
He just said we're going to be a better.
Is that an assumption or an expectation?
Well, assumption and expectations, yeah. He said we're going to be a better oil team, the players around him. Well, Will Levis wasn't. He has to improve too.
And he didn't improve with the team.
Right.
And so now you're kind of introducing a foreign element into if all the wheels are working on a car and you take one of the good working wheels off and put on a spare, you can't go as fast.
It's not going to work as well. Or just put a different driver in there who's a little unexperienced, so it's going to be a little bit different. So yeah, so he is planning on letting him, work through the rust, because there will be rust. I don't care who you are, especially the freaking quarterback. So yeah, that one there, I think that's kind of how he's looking at it. Or maybe he was doing exactly what you said. He's just trying to take the pressure off his quarterback, which makes sense. But at the same time, he didn't address Will.
Yeah, he just said, well, he's got to come in and do
his
stuff
job.
that he hadn't been doing.
Right.
But that's the problem, is that
you're to do something he hadn't done.
He hadn't done, and on top he's going to be rusty. Yeah. So this is Kayla Anderson had asked a question, asked Brian Callahan on the expectations for Will Levis once he steps back into the starting spot, including finding that connection with Calvin Ridley that Mason Rudolph has built over these last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be about them getting some reps back. He's had some over the last 2 weeks, but getting that feel back. So there's a rapport that Mason and Calvin have built, and that was really positive. And again, I think more of it's just Calvin's understanding of where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. Those things have all improved a great amount, and so now Will's got to do his part in getting back on that page. And again, it's the discipline and spacing in the passing game. I think that's really been improved, and then now he's just got to be able to step into it and deliver it. So that'll take some work this week, and hopefully the result is very similar.
So he talks about Mason and Calvin have obviously built this chemistry. Will Levis and Calvin Ridley have been trying to build this chemistry that Mason and Calvin built in 2 weeks since the offseason, and it hasn't worked. And now, again, we're going back to the rusty portion of it, being able to build it now. Because Calvin Ridley, so let me put it this way. If Calvin Ridley is running better routes and finding his spacing and getting his feel for the game, but your quarterback hasn't, how's that going to affect this game? And how's it going to affect Will Levis's first start back?
Yeah. We're really parsing his words.
I know.
I don't know. I want to say what he really said there, and it's just my take, and I could be totally wrong, which I am about a lot of different things if you're trying to just guess. Calvin Ridley now is where he needs to be.
Yeah.
With this offense, it didn't matter who was the quarterback.
Gotcha.
So now he's playing a little more consistent. Now he's getting into a rhythm in the flow with us, getting, feeding the ball early and often. He's into the zone. Mason Rudolph has then made it look as though they're developing chemistry. Okay. That's how I look at it. And so what he's saying is when I put Will Levis back in here, chemistry's going to stay there because
Calvin Ridley
is doing his job and getting to his spots where he's supposed to be.
So does that change your perspective on the first answer now that you've heard maybe a little bit more detail about Calvin Ridley?
I'm going to just give you real honest what I'm thinking.
I love it.
With all the critiquing of Will Levis, you're setting him up to fail. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying I would gradually ease him back in.
Gotcha.
Mason Rudolph could play. We're still talking about Will Levis.
Yeah.
See that? So you got to be mindful in a quarterback that is developing, and he's not there yet either. So you want to put him out there, but I would slow play it. I really would. That's just how I'll be. But I'm not a coach, so I would probably put him out there after Mason Rudolph maybe has a rusty series. Mason Rudolph will be my starter this game.
Let him be the jolt for the
Yeah,
offense.
right.
That also
Change
kind
of
of
pace.
builds up
Right.
okay, here comes Will Levis, and if he saves the day,
Right.
that builds
Now-
some confidence.
Right. Not only him, but also with his teammates,
Yeah.
and also that he's back. And then if he doesn't do, then they could say, oh, well, it's doing the same as Mason Rudolph. And then you say, just stay out there another series.
Yeah.
And you just kind of play it by ear. But to me, the critique of Will Levis, if he throws an interception on the first series, just imagine the eruption Sammy will have about Will Levis is horrible. So that's what I'm trying to protect against, to help him just gradually get back. And then that's say when he's back finally, he's, the guy is fully starting. At least my concept is that then when he makes a mistake, he could be able to, fix it in his mind where, hey, I made a mistake here. Let's move on. Where if you do it immediately on the first drive or your first time playing and being back after missing, 3 or 4 games or whatever it was, I just think that's not going to play out really well.
Well, when we come back, we're going to go around the NFL with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. And then after that, we'll continue our discussion about the Tennessee Titans and all that kind of stuff. 615-737-1045 if you want to get on the conversation. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? People are really tired of that stuff. So if you had it with the unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turn unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready, so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And at Eurofix, they also repair all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. So why would you want to pay for that? Well, a Eurofix Reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix. Family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them, Blaze it,
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Stores, 615-737-1045. And, of course, we're going to go straight to the phones for our weekly visit with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports as we go around the NFL. Jordan, I hope you have recovered from trade deadline day yesterday.
What's going on, my friends? Thanks for having me on the show. No, I have not recovered. I'm running on a couple hours of sleep. It was a really fun day. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on that Tuesday, but I'm always excited to be on your show.
Jordan, I got to start with one of the trades. Trading for Jonathan Mingo seems like the biggest head scratcher and the biggest sign that maybe this is the signal that a cry for help from Jerry Jones that it's time to force retirement on him. Get him out of here. Like, what is he doing?
Jerry World went crazy.
I know. Listen, here's the deal. With the Dallas Cowboys, should have they been sellers at the trade deadline? Yeah. Yes, probably. But it's the Cowboys, right? Like, they're the biggest brand in the NFL. I was not surprised to see them not be sellers, but who would imagine they would be buyers with Dak Prescott about to go on IR with the hamstring injury? You trade for a backup wide receiver that's going to somehow single-handedly save your season. I mean, a fourth-round pick for Jonathan Mingo and a seventh going back in return is pretty rich in my opinion. He's got 539 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns in 24 games played. I mean, people would remember, you're in SEC country. Jonathan Mingo was a pretty attractive prospect coming out of Ole Miss. People compared him to A.J. Brown or Anquan Bolden. Yep. He hasn't lived up to expectations with Carolina, of course. I mean, it's kind of hard to as a player in that Panthers organization. But keep in mind that he's not DeAndre Hopkins or Deontay Johnson from a contract perspective. He's on his rookie deal. He has multiple seasons to prove himself before Dallas wants to give him some kind of extension. So maybe that's a reason why he went for a little bit more than some of these rentals. But still, I don't think many people around the league expected a fourth-round pick for Jonathan Mingo.
Well, that, of course, sent Titans fans into a frenzy that, well, you couldn't get a fourth for DeAndre Hopkins. But Bill Barnwell kind of talked about this as well. Something that you're alluding to is this second wide receiver draft where you make these trades for these guys that are on rookie contracts that are underperforming because your team scouted them and your team thought they were better than what they're getting. Another team may be getting out of them, but seems like it's a high risk for a fourth round pick. I understand for like a sixth round, but I understand this is a second round wide receiver, but still a fourth round pick after trading a fourth round pick for Trey Lance. It just seems wild. This is insanity. After not doing anything in the offseason, this is your big splash in 2024.
The Cowboys said they were all in, and let me tell you, Jonathan Mingo is all in.
Oh, my.
It is just wild. What other trades from yesterday do you I understand the premise behind the number 5 pass defense in the Washington Commanders going and getting Marshawn Lattimore, but we're talking about a guy that has only played 2 full seasons in his entire career. He's already missed 2 games this season, and you traded 3 draft picks for him. After, when you're looking at the Commanders, they're a team right now that has drafted, or this year specifically under this regime with Adam Peters, have a lot of their draft picks hitting, and you just traded away a bunch of draft picks. Is win now the right kind of move for this organization right now?
Oh, man, I could talk for hours about this trade. I think it was my favorite of the day.
Yeah.
I think it was my favorite of the day, to be honest with you, and it's for a couple reasons why. It shows you that general manager Adam Peters knows where he is with his team. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't realize where Washington was until I started looking at some of the analytics and percentage chances. The Commanders, looking at their remaining schedule and their power rankings, they might be the number 2 team in the NFC. So what the GM did was go out there and find a established veteran who could bolster the defensive side of the ball that goes hand in hand with an offense that is the number 3 rushing offense in the league, and Jaden Daniels, who is the most special quarterback we've seen in quite some time. Yes, more special than C.J. Stroud. And listen, with Marshawn Lattimore, he has been hurt. He hasn't played a full season since something like 2018. And I have no analytics to mesh this with or prove my point, but here's the deal. Imagine a legitimate, talented CB1 who resides in probably the most downtrodden locker room in the NFL. And then you go from 2-7 to 7-2 overnight to one of the best locker rooms in the NFL. That's running on good vibes. And again, has one of the most special players in the NFL. What does that do for a player's psyche? What does that do for a player's momentum? Marshawn Lattimore is going to play an important role on this Washington defense. And if he can remain healthy, which again is a legitimate question, it could be one of the most important, notable trades of the trade deadline.
It's interesting. I mean, I think that's the way to look at it, and the way to I guess explain giving away 3 draft picks. Again, you got one back, but still, I mean, that was a pretty hefty price. That was a little surprise. No wonder Kansas City didn't try to match it. Last question here before I pass you off to Blaine. Dennis Allen gets fired. Who's the next coach in season that's going to get fired?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of coaches on the hot seat, right? Doug Peterson for Jacksonville, Antonio Pearce for Vegas, Brian Daboll for the Giants. But if I'm picking one head coach to get fired mid-season, not at the end of the season, mid-season, it might be Matt Eberflus of the Chicago Bears. Now, through 9 weeks, the Bears are 4-4. They're coming off of 2 tough losses, right? They had a Hail Mary in Washington, and then they were blown out by the Arizona Cardinals this past Sunday, which was pretty shocking. The Bears, by the way, have lost 19 straight road games, which is, I think, tying an NFL record since 2000. But here is why Matt Eberflus could be fired mid-season. Even though they're 4-4, the Bears, without a doubt, have the toughest remaining schedule in the NFL. The Bears play in the NFC North, right? Arguably the most talented division in the NFL. Still, through Week 9, they have not yet played a divisional opponent. So that is absolutely wild to think about. I think the Bears are on thin ice. We know that their play caller's on the hot seat. Matt Eberflus entered this season on the hot seat. If this team can't get it together, they are going to have a pretty bad record at the end of the year. And again, if things continue to go the way they're going, my ears certainly raised up when I saw what happened against the Arizona Cardinals, who I think don't have a very consistent defense. Chicago and Caleb Williams were kept out of the end zone. I think the Bears fans are in for a really tough November.
We're talking Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports, and he's taking us around the NFL with the latest news and headlines.
Well, that's a good hot take there. So who did you say that would be the top contenders for head coach for the Saints?
Yeah, I did a list looking at who could be top contenders for the Saints head coaching gigs. And, I think that Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, has to be the number one candidate on the market. But at the same time, if he's number one on the market, he's going to be able to pick and choose his destination. And I think the New Orleans Saints might be the worst destination to go to right now. I mean, they don't have any control, or I guess I should say any idea what the quarterback situation is going to look like. They have the worst financial situation in the NFL as well. They're already $60 million over the projected cap number in 2025. I mean, we're looking at a legitimate rebuild in New Orleans. But if you're asking for other head coaching candidates, right, people are going to talk about Mike Vrabel. I don't know exactly where he lands in the power rankings for other decision makers in the NFL. People will talk about Bill Belichick. People are going to talk about Aaron Glenn, a former defensive back who is now the DC with the Detroit Lions. Another guy that I'm keeping an eye on is Joe Brady. Remember, he was the passing game coordinator for that tremendous LSU team when they won the championship. Now he's the offensive coordinator with Buffalo. And I'll give you another one. Here's a hot take. What about Jesse Minter, the first-year defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers, who is currently leading the number one scoring defense in the NFL? Could he be somebody who picks up steam as a head coaching candidate as we progress through the regular season?
Wow. Well, guess who his dad is? Rick Minter, who was my defensive coordinator at Ball State.
There you go.
And while he was here at Vanderbilt, and just for that 1 year, and naturally he was at Michigan. So, yeah, I have a good relationship with the Mentor family. So I'd be interested to see if he gets this. How about that? Learn something new every day. We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. Were there any trades or tradable players for the Titans that you thought would get traded and would have value?
Oh, 100%. I wanted the Titans to be sellers at the deadline. And listen, I understand it's not fun to talk about your team being sellers, but with where they're sitting currently, I think that's the smart course of action. And I don't know why general managers and scouts around the league aren't looking at Arden Key and Sebastian Joseph Day and saying, wow, those guys are actually having some pretty good seasons and they are worth a late day 3 pick to bring those guys in, especially if we're talking about teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, who absolutely could have made an addition on the defensive line. I think it might, and again, I'm speculating here, but I'm going back to, I guess the Titans were just not getting something decent in return, and what would that line be? Is it a 7th-round pick? Would you accept that for Arden Key? But were they offering a future 7th, a future 6th, whatever it may be? I absolutely thought it would have been smart for Tennessee to be sellers because I thought those two players have had really good seasons, and I thought they could be immediate contributors for teams that have playoff aspirations. So it surprises me a little bit that the Titans didn't end up getting a deal done.
No doubt about it. What about yours truly, your team, the Steelers? They have Mike Williams and the edge rusher, was it Preston Smith? It was one of the edge guys, right? What did you think about that?
I thought these were two of the weirder trades of the day. I don't think Mike Williams is worth a 5th-round pick. That absolutely shocks me. Why is Deontay Johnson going for like a late pick-round swap, but Mike Williams goes for a 5th-rounder? That's crazy to me. I think Preston Smith was one of the more intriguing trades of the day, and it comes out that he actually requested a trade. Doesn't really surprise me because Green Bay was using some of their youngest pass rushers, but the bottom line is that Preston Smith is an experienced quarterback sack artist, and he's someone who went for a 7th-round pick, and then you look at his contract situation. He's actually under contract for a couple more years, but I don't think there's more guaranteed money left on his contract. And then here's another weird thing. He's not going to start with the Steelers. I mean, they have the deepest pass rushing unit in the entire NFL. But the more I thought about it, I looked at this 3-4 scheme in Pittsburgh, and I look at Preston Smith, who I covered back during his Washington days, and I think he adds some versatility to the fold. I think he can rush the passer from the inside and the outside. So we know that the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. That is their calling card. They want to contend this year, so they wanted to bolster their pass rushing group, and it only cost a 7th-rounder to do so.
We're halfway through, or almost halfway through the season, which is crazy to say. But right now, who is your Super Bowl favorite?
Yeah, I'm doing a column tomorrow for CBS Sports.
Oh, how did I know?
Yeah, you can tell the future, my friend.
I didn't know that.
But let me I'll say that the Chiefs are going to be everyone's favorite, right? And you understand why. They're the reigning champions. They're undefeated. All that. DeAndre Hopkins is Jerry Rice now. He's great. But I'm looking at the Detroit Lions, to be honest with you. If I'm power ranking teams, I'm going to take the Lions right now. I think that, I could go on and on. Jared Goff has been the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. He's completed 30 straight passes to his wide receiver one, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sam Laporta is one of the best tight ends. They have a great running back room with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. There is some concern on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, there is, but I do like the addition of Zadarius Smith. No one can replace Aiden Hutchinson, but Zadarius Smith is a veteran who's going to help that team. I think they have one of the best, arguably the greatest coaching staff. They finally got, a division title under their belt last year. They're clearly building on their success. They have the #1 scoring offense in the NFL, which matters in today's NFL. So give me the Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl right now.
This is for you. Last question real quick is you're a Tennessee guy, Vols guy. What'd you think about the playoff ranking there?
Oh, my gosh. Listen, I'm so glad I cover the NFL and not college football because we have objectivity in the NFL, right? We have seeds. We have tiebreakers out the wazoo. We don't have some subjective committee that sits down and puts out a ranking of the top 12 playoff teams that doesn't even matter, by the way. We still have games left to be played. I'm a little confused with the automatic bids and everything that goes into it, but it's based on subjectivity, which just in general makes me a bit anxious. But it's a work in progress. I would love for Tennessee to play Indiana. That's an easy matchup for us, but I'm excited to see what the rest of the season holds.
Yeah. All right, Jordan. We've talked about it every week, and I just kind of want to get your MVP update rankings here. I put in a little bit of money on Jaden Daniels after that first few weeks. We got Jared Goff is also probably in the running for MVP right now. Are those your top two quarterbacks? Is the MVP race, does it run through the NFC?
Oh, gosh, I just hate the MVP award because I don't agree with Vegas. I don't agree with the NFL. I mean, Lamar Jackson right now is the favorite. You can understand why. Josh Allen's right behind him. Then Jared Goff finally passed Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't even been that great this year, by the way. But I think Jaden Daniels at plus 1,000 is still tremendous value. But, you know, if I was making my own rankings, I'm looking at Derrick Henry. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley, who's jumping over people backwards. Those are guys who should be in the MVP race, in my opinion, not Jalen Hurts, not Josh Allen, not Patrick Mahomes. I'm looking at guys who are making incredible impacts on the field week in, week out.
That's interesting. I love it. I want to go to the Tennessee Titans I want to go to Caleb Williams because you talked about firing maybe Matt Eberflus in the middle of the season. Shane Waldron obviously is on the hot seat as well. But we've also seen that not be conducive to the stability and progression of a rookie quarterback. So obviously, you know, you got to win in the NFL and everything, but what does that mean for Caleb Williams in year 2 or even in the middle of this year if they fire Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron is to follow out that door?
I think it's a great question by you, but I was telling you guys, I was telling Blaine before the season, I didn't like that Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron were the two coaches in place to help with Caleb Williams' development. That was a problem to me. And sure enough, I mean, it's a problem that we're talking about here on Wednesday, November 6th. I don't like calling for people's jobs, but it was a legitimate point of concern. How are these guys, how is this offensive mind, this defensive-minded head coach going to be conducive for a young player's development who, again, has all the potential in the world? So that's why I think the Chicago Bears, even if it's not midseason, at the end of the season, is going to make a move to bring in someone who can make the case where they can develop Caleb Williams into the potential face of the NFL. That's what the Chicago Bear franchise needs.
Okay, last question. This comes actually from someone in the YouTube chat whose name I can't say because it's got some expletives in it. But do you think that Blaine Bishop would have lit up Saquon Barkley in mid-flight if he tried to jump over him backwards?
Absolutely, because you know what? When I saw the technique from that tackler, he was nothing. He was diving forward with his head. We knew that Blaine Bishop was a technician when it came to his technique, taking down running backs.
Can you jump that high, Blaine, even back in your heyday?
Oh, I could jump that high, but I saw it live because I was watching it. I was like, oh, man, he would have made me look really bad right there. He would have just literally just jumped right over me standing straight up. I don't know, man. That to do what he did was so off the charts athletic. Yeah. And people have told me about some of his prowess, especially when he was at Penn State. A former teammate of mine was on the administrative staff there, associate AD there, Keith Embry. He said, man, this guy is unbelievable in his athleticism, his start, stop, his jump. He said his quads are the biggest thing he's ever seen. This, by the way, is a former defensive end talking like this. And he said, man, he not only did he say he was a phenomenal person, but he said his athleticism, he hadn't seen anything like it. And then I see that, I go, wow.
And you're telling me C.J. Stroud has better MVP odds than that guy right there? I mean, come on.
Yeah, especially with the way that C.J. Stroud plays on the road, because that's a real thing. I mean, I like it. Now that you've mentioned it, like a couple of episodes, a couple times we've had you on, like I have been all up on watching C.J. Stroud on the road. I am not, if I'm a fantasy person, if I'm a bettor, I'm not betting on C.J. Stroud on the road. I mean, that's just where I'm at.
I told you, we made some great money on Halloween. People are like, why are the Jets favored against the Texans? And I said, C.J. Stroud has a road problem. Put the rent on the Jets. And sure enough, we came through.
There you go. That's Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Jordan Dajani. You can read all of his stuff over at CBS Sports. Thanks for going around the NFL with us, Jordan.
Appreciate it, JD.
Thanks, guys. Anytime. Appreciate y'all.
All right, when we come back, we'll close up talking about the Tennessee Titans and why I feel like they didn't do anything at the trade deadline and why people don't need to use revisionist history on DeAndre Hopkins and that trade compensation. We'll talk about that. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. Listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months and was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. and they did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then they came up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. And since I've started my peptide therapy, I've seen that I've got a lot more energy and focus. But now this month, Edge is offering a special on their recovery peptides. And recovery peptides are great for healing post-injury or surgery. You recover quicker from your workouts, also from old joint pains and arthritis, elbow, knee, overall inflammation from old and new sports injuries. And recovery peptides help with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge, because I absolutely did. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com, just like I did, and feel great and look great. Yes, that's what Sammy said. And just give them a call. 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Final segment here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. We've been talking about the trade deadline and everything. I just kind of want to wrap that up with a bow here. And let's start with this. There's only so much a team can do with 6th and 7th round picks. And I think that's why you didn't see Arden Key or Sebastian Joseph Day moved, because the 6th and the 7th isn't really worth it to move off two of the players that are contributing on a defense. And what kind of message does that maybe send to the rest of the locker room also on top of all that? But at the end of the day, it's a business, right? So if I am looking at a cost-benefit analysis of a business, what good is a 6th round pick? Because everybody's going to say, well, you could trade that up to get a 5th round pick if you want to, or you could throw that in and move. Well, they got all kinds of 6th and 7ths already. Mm-hmm. They don't need another one, and that's great in theory to think, but at the end of the day, right now, the NFL as a whole, as a business, doesn't view – they don't want to trade back. They want as many picks. Everybody wants to trade up. Mm-hmm. And so finding a team that wants to trade back and maybe move out of the 5th round for a couple of 6 just isn't as feasible as what everybody makes it out to be anymore. So at the end of the day, I think they wanted to be sellers, but they wanted to be sellers at the right price and not be taken advantage of. Because if you're trading away Sebastian Joseph Day and Arden Key for 6 or 7, that's not worth it to your team for going forward in the season, but also in next year's draft. What's good is a 6th and a 7th round pick?
Key, which you have an option on his contract,
right? I mean, you can get out of it if you want.
Yeah. So you want to keep him around, even if it's next year, even if he's a reduced role, but then he's in the role he should be. That would be awesome. Now you got some cornerstone pieces and a rotational piece there. So I get that one as much as I thought he had the most value on the line, at least as far as that they would part ways with.
Yeah.
Also, who else did you say?
Sebastian Joseph Day. Now, besides Jeffrey Simmons and everything.
Right, yeah. But naturally, Day, you said he only had a 1-year contract, correct?
Correct.
So I think that was much more feasible. Even though he's having a good year, it was his first year with us. If I could have got maybe a 6 for him, I might have really considered it. He's a good piece, but you're going to lose him in this offseason because I feel like other people are going to think that he probably could be a starter, even more than a rotational piece.
Yeah, I think you get rid of Sebastian Joseph Day or Arden Key for anything for a 5th and a 4th. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure.
But nobody's realistically, like we talked about, going to really pay that. I mean, maybe Jerry Jones would have paid it if you would have called him. Just tell him that they play wide receiver or tight end. Maybe he would have traded for him. But at the end of the day, I think Sebastian Joseph Day, as good as Rand Carthon has been drafting, right? And I think he's been very good. Your 6th round picks have been Jalen Duncan and Jaquan Jackson. I'm okay with keeping Sebastian Joseph Day over a 6th round pick, to be honest with you. And like I said, I mean, filling your team up with 6th round picks probably isn't the best strategy anyway. And maybe you're looking at it like, oh, well, we'll have more chances to hit on one of our 6th round picks. But like, there's only so much you can really do with those. So to me, I'm like, I understand it, and I understand the other side too. Like, I understand 1-year contract, 6th round pick for a guy that is not. He starts some games, but he's really more a rotational guy in Sebastian Joseph Day. But he has been probably one of your more consistent contributors on this defense, and this defense is the best part of your team. So, like, I kind of understand it. Yeah. So, I look at then, obviously, Big Jeff not being traded. Obviously, we talked about that yesterday, and Harold Landry. Like, you're going to have to come correct with some offers to get those guys off the team. Everybody's
Big Jeff played phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, let's again, we didn't harp on that. I mean, he was, now, you'd say New England's horrible, but he dominated.
Everybody's available for a price. You just got to come correct with that price, and they obviously didn't. I was a little surprised no Nick Folk rumors floating around out there. I really thought a team that has had some kicker issues, been a lot of injuries, a lot of people have missed kicks. He's been, very reliable. Kind of a little surprised there weren't any rumors pop up about that. But I want to talk about looking at the Mingo Mike Williams trade and trying to apply that to DeAndre Hopkins. And because a lot of people, I think, are fans, because fans are reactionary, they're passionate. Don't blame them at all for being that. But DeAndre Hopkins was traded 2 weeks earlier to the Chiefs. If you don't make that trade, there's not a guarantee, first off, that the Chiefs are still going to be in the wide receiver market by then. There's no guarantee that DeAndre Hopkins ain't going to be injured at some point, or maybe he puts worse stuff on tape. At the end of the day, that was the right time to make that trade. Well, we could talk about value, but I just want to talk about timing, because I think timing is the bigger issue. And that's really what everybody's like, well, they could have waited. But in the NFL, you can't risk that wait. You have to strike while the iron's hot. And let's be honest, what we're laughing at the most are the two teams that traded for wide receivers because they way overpaid. But both of those wide receivers are entirely different styles and entirely different contract situations to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. No, I would completely agree with that. I would add that, timing is everything, but also if you waited, you could have lost in the battle and wouldn't even have got what you got for him, and would have had to maybe even go in a different direction. So also you was you're trying to do a solid to make sure D-Hop, who's Hall of Fame potential, gets to go to a good team. So he was elated, even though he loved being here in Nashville. And I'm sure he didn't want to get traded, but he understood that this is a business, and that he was going to actually a competitive team that has a shot at getting a Super Bowl, which he does not have. And it will be their three-peat, and he's playing with the best in the business and maybe ever has played in Mahomes, been a targeting. So he knew he was going to get targets as he did, and he's not going to score 2 touchdowns every game.
I mean,
so
you
he
think
was
about being DeAndre Hopkins and you go to Patrick Mahomes,
right?
But if you would have waited, you get to go play with Cooper Rush.
Right.
Yeah. How thrilled is he going to be about that?
Yeah,
and instead, you got a little bit of goodwill, a little bit of relationship building, relationship cred there as well. But to me, it just made all the sense in the world. We can bicker back and forth about whether...
Also age.
Yeah, age by the way, is another thing. But we can bicker back and forth whether or not they got enough for him, or the conditions to go from a fifth to fourth. But at the end of the day, I think it's all about timing, and that was the right timing. It does not matter what happened with Mike Williams. It does not matter what happened with Mingo. That's called revisionist history. That's applying something that doesn't really matter to the prior situation.
Yeah, agree.
2 different situations for me. Because, I mean, really, at that same time, Cooper Kupp was rumored. What if they went and traded for Cooper Kupp? Just saying, Kansas City could have made that trade. And then, do the Steelers really want DeAndre Hopkins over a deep threat wide receiver? Who's
injury prone, by
Dallas,
the way.
And
don't care anybody about Dallas. Don't compare to anybody.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's not as simple as what everybody likes to make it out to be. The NFL trade beast is way more complicated than you think. We'll talk, and you'll learn a lot about that this offseason, because that's my bread and butter, trades and contracts and all that stuff. The offseason's going to be fun here on Blaine Zach. I can't wait. But in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.